there. So again, very good evening and good morning. So we are in session number 8 today, and we are in the chapter called Conditions and Loops. And we have started this chapter partly in the last session, that is session number 7, wherein we covered if, else, and elif is what we have primarily covered, along with one of the topics of chapter number 7, which was arguments. Okay, so as always, let's do a quick recap of what happened in the last session, and then we'll carry on with what is there for you today. So in session number 7, we basically dealt only two important topics, that is arguments and if else. So arguments, when it comes to arguments are nothing but the external values that you want to pass along with the file that you want to execute inside the Python kernel, right? That's what is, the arguments are meant for. So we have also seen how to execute a Python file with external arguments are also called parameters using the terminal. That is one way that we have looked at. And the other way that we have looked at to execute the parameters or arguments from the PyCharm by actually creating a configuration. So the best way to create a configuration inside your Python is right click anywhere inside your file, and then you will have an option with the file name called create, the file name configuration. So as soon as you select that, you will have a value. Let me also show. As soon as you select this, you right click, you have something called create PFB session like this, right? So if you click on this, it's a configuration page, and here you can give all the parameters. If you want to pass in 8 parameters, pass in 8 parameters. If you want to pass only 2 through 3 parameters, you can pass. So as we have seen both the ways of dealing with the arguments, right? From the terminal as well and from the PyCharm as well. Okay, that's what we have seen with respect to arguments. And after that, we moved into if else clause. So basically, that is the first conditional programming statements that anybody in any programming world learns. So if and else, and there is something else called elif. So if is a condition. So given a condition, something inside the if that becomes true, then the block inside the if will be executed. If it is not, the else clause will be executed. It is not mandatory to have else clause along with the if. If you do not specify any else clause, if the condition is false, it doesn't execute anything because there is no else clause. Now, in case if you have multiple conditions to deal with, not just two conditions, then you will basically introduce elif. So if clause will have a condition, else if there is another condition, use elif, and then you have a piece of code to run. Again, you can have another elif to have a third condition, and you have a piece of code, so on and so forth. And we've also seen how to create a nested if clauses as well, right? The best example that we have taken is taking an input from the user, the experience that he has got, and print a message according to whatever we wanted to say, right? All of that is what we have seen in the last session. So in continuation to the same conditions and loops, today we have two more important loops and conditions to learn. One is for loop and the other one is while loop. While learning for loop and while loop, I'm also going to help you learn two more important topics called range and sleep. Okay, these are the two common things that you will ever see in every Python programming, right? That's the reason I would like to spend a few more minutes on explaining what is range and what is sleep. Okay, so let's quickly start off with for loops then. So what is a for loop? As it says, in case if you have a program that has to run in a loop, one after the other, right? So if you have a program that has to run, for example, all the length of the list that you have got. So let me create a list for you here. So before that, as always, to keep my terminal clean, I'm just stopping it and restarting it here because it has been open for a very long while. So I'm creating a list here, for example, article list, and it is nothing but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, for example. And I created this list for you. Now I wanted to run a program that will go and execute some mathematical operation in each of these, elements of the list, and then it has to save the result into another list. If I have this use case, how do I deal with and solve using for loop? So in that case, I just wanted to basically create another list called list2. For the first time, it will be an empty list. There is nothing inside this. Now, what is the mathematical operation? For every element inside the list, consider I have to multiply it with number 3. Okay, so if I multiply number 3 with each of these elements, what is this? Could be 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So each of these results I also wanted to store inside this list. So if this is my requirement, how is that I'm going to handle? That is where your for loop comes into the picture. Now I would say for any other, any name that you want to give, for example, item underscore, or you can also say element, right? List underscore element in Oracle underscore list colon. What does it mean? Each iteration, right? So the length of this list is 5 elements. This for loop will run for 5 times in a 5 loop. First time it will pick the first element of this list and it will be called as list element. So I would just say print list element. That's it. Just to make sure you understand the logic of for. Now again, it will complete the print because the element inside the list are 5. The first element is completed. It will go to the second element. After it prints the second element, it goes to the third element. After it prints the third element, it goes to the fourth element. After it prints the fourth element, it goes to the fifth element. After it prints the fifth element, this for loop execution halts. That's where it stops. So for loop is basically used if you have a number of iterations that you already know in the program, and if you wanted to run that program in a loop, one after the other, then for loop comes into the picture. Now, by the end of this loop, the variable name is one and the same, right? It will start assigning the variable value list element as 10 in the first, but by the end of this loop, the value inside this variable will be 50 because that is the last value of that list. As you have learned in the past sessions, if a same variable name is created with the another values in it, it will keep overwriting the value of the variable, right? So the last value will become the value of this variable. We will also see that. Okay, so let me print this piece first for you. Now you see it has printed 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What it did is it just went into a loop and it has printed the first element first, then went into second element, then went into third element. That's why you see each new lines here. Now what was my requirement? As I told you, my requirement is not just this. I wanted to multiply some value to each of the element and I wanted to append into the existing list called Oracle list 2. So let's see how do I do it. Now I would say just whatever you have. So Oracle list 2 should be added with the value which is list underscore element into number 3. So what happens is every time it is in this loop, it basically, what does it do? For this empty list, it will add a new element, but this element is nothing but 10 into 3 in the first iteration, 20 into 3 in the second iteration, 30 into 3 in the third iteration, 40 into 3 in the fourth iteration, and 50 into 3 in the fifth iteration. As I'm asking to basically add this number into the existing loop, existing list, it will keep adding these elements, and by the end of this loop, this particular list will be having 5 elements. Before we see that, let's see, it is an empty variable as of now. So let me print this and see it is empty. Okay. So as this is empty, now let me go and execute this piece. Okay. So let me execute this. As you see, the print statement is only 1. So that's the reason you only see these elements. But what I did as a second line of this for loop is to add new elements in the empty list. Now what is my empty list looking like? See, 10 into 3, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So this is the purpose of having a for loop. Now we have seen, running a purpose of for loop with the elements inside the list. The reason why we did this is this would be one of the important requirements or necessities for any of the Python programmers. So I believe if you start programming in Python, you will definitely use list and a for loop for the list for sure. Take up any requirement or any development that you are going to pick up, you will definitely use this case. Similarly, I have created another list, not only the numbers, in case if I have to just say this, and instead of list element, it can be any name that you want to give. It is just like creating a variable value. As I told you, what would be the variable value by the end of this complete loop? It is going to be 50, because last iteration was on this element. At this point, the 50 was allocated to list element, so that's the reason the value inside this variable is 50. Okay. All right. So again, I'm sorry. This I'm opening up. Cool. Now the next one for you on the screen is you can also create a character, and I can also print a character, right? So let me copy paste this and print. Say here, hello Oracle, each element of the list has been printed. I'm sorry for this. I'll remove all of this because it was by mistake. Cool. Okay. This is a very simple for. So don't worry, we are going to write little complex for loops also in the same session. But before we go there, let me introduce you another function called as range. So what does range do? So if I just say range and 5, that means it will generate numbers from 0 to 4. Okay, range is nothing but a function to generate the sequence of numbers. That's it. So if I say range of 5, basically it will have 5 numbers in it. But as the numbers always starts from 0 in Python, so it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All these 5 numbers, makes it to 5 count. So if I just say range 5, basically what you see on the screen is range 0, 5. If you want to actually see all the elements that range, produces, just say list of range 5. Convert the range in the form of a list. You will see from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So why am I teaching you range at this point of time? In case if you do not want to be dependent on any list to create a for loop, or you just blindly wanted to run some program in an iteration 10 times, how do you do it? You just say range of 10. Instead of this, you just say, let me write here, for number in range of 10, right? Because I wanted to just run a for loop 10 times. Just say print number comma times. So that is the first time, second time, etc. So now let me execute only these two. You see 0 times, 1 times, 2 times, 3 times until 9 times, because I said range 10. So that's the important thing why you want to learn range. In case if you want to run something in a fixed number of iterations, range is something that is going to help you. Okay. Now similarly, as we have learnt in the list, right? You can also generate a range of numbers. By default, it starts with 0 and increments by 1 value, and it will end, keep considering this is the maximum value. You can also create a list starting from 1 instead of 0, right? If I say starting from 1 instead of 0, it generates 1, 2, 3, 4, because the maximum that I'm saying is 5. So 5 is nothing but 1 minus of 5 is 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. So you have until 4, it will generate the numbers. Now again, you wanted to not generate the numbers incremented by 1 between each element. Instead, you wanted to increment it by 2. So you can again say start with 3, and the maximum that you have to be is 10. That is nothing but 9. But hop it with the size 2. That means after 3, the next value that you should see is 5. After 5, 7. After 7, 9. You can also generate the numbers like that. See, if I execute this code, you see this as an output. All right. So range is exactly as good as, you have a group of elements in the list, and the way that we have seen the syntax is different, right? When you want to read the elements of the list, instead of 3 colon comma 10, you said 3 colon 10. And instead of this, you said this. That's the syntax that you have seen in the list, right? But because this is range, the colons are just replaced by comma. So range, why am I saying this? It is very important, and it is widely seen in any Python program. Okay, cool. As an example, again, I just say instead of, and you wanted to depend on the length of the, a list, and you wanted to pass that length as an input to range. You can definitely do that. What is length of Oracle list 2? It is 4, right? And that 4 will become as an input for range. So range of 4. So the range of 4 becomes index number, and I also wanted to print like this. See what happened? I say print index 0. What is the index 0? Sorry, index number. The first time it is 0. And in the list, what is RSQL of 0? It is hello. The first iteration is completed. In the second iteration, index number value is 1. Right? What is RSQL list of 1? It is RSQL. That's why you see here RSQL. The second iteration is completed. Now it went into the third iteration. In the third iteration, what is index number value? 3. So the 3 is you see in the 2, right? And that index number RSQL list of 2 is class. That's it here. The third iteration is done. It went into the fourth iteration. In the fourth iteration, index number value is 3. It has printed 3, and after that it has printed RSQL list of 3 is nothing but Python value. Okay, that is where you basically use for loops. Now you can also use nested for loops also. I'll give a very simple nested for loop example. I'm creating another list with 500, 600 and 700. Okay, I'm just saying print var value, var1, every time in an iteration it is 500, 600 and 700. First time when it picks the first element, it is 500. After it is listed 500, I am again starting another loop inside that without coming out from the first parent. I'm saying A inside the RSQL list, it is 500. So print me var value, which is 500. What is the A value there? 500, 600, 700. This for loop will iterate 3 times internally before it exits the first iteration here. Okay, so there are 3 iterations inside this. After that, the first iteration completes for the first one. Then it will get into the second iteration. In the second iteration, again you have for loop. So inside the second iteration, again these 2 lines of code are executed 3 times. So that is how you should see. What am I printing here at the end? In the first iteration, print 3 times the value of variables and also value of A divided by 100. Let's see this. Then you'll understand it better. I'm sorry, I have to also create the variable. I did this. Now you see what happens. In the first iteration, if I have to compare the code, in the first iteration of the parent loop, what is the var1 value? 500. Okay. I'm sorry, did I use something? Okay. Yeah, list 2, right? Because this is list 2, you are saying hello. The first time hello has been printed in the first iteration. After it is printing hello, again another for loop has started. In this for loop, I'm saying this has 3 elements inside that. So after printing hello, I'm saying print whatever is the variable value. After that, print what is the A value and then A divided by 100. So 500 and then 500 divided by 100 is 5. The same loop is went into a second iteration. So the var1 value will still be hello, but the second element is 600 and 600 divided by 100 is 6. And again the same for loop is went into third iteration and still var value is only hello. It did not come out of the first loop of the parent for. And hello 700 and 7. Now after this 3 iterations of an inside for loop, the first iteration of the complete for loop has been completed. Now it came to the second for loop of the parent. In the second parent, var value becomes RSQL, right? That is what the second element. Again inside RSQL, I have this one executes again 3 times. So RSQL 505, RSQL 606, RSQL 707. After that, again it goes back to the third iteration of parent. In the third iteration of parent, the var1 value will become class. And again, when it is class, again there is a for loop. So it iterates 3 times because the number of elements inside the list is 3. Again, it prints class of 500, 5, class 600, 6, etc. And this completes as the length of this into the length of this. So if there is a nested for loop, the number of elements that you can expect is this number into this number. So you see 4 into 3, 12 elements. So each element will be iterating 3 times. So this 4 elements and iterating 3 times for each element is 12 iterations. Okay, that is how the nested for loop you should understand. And the more complex you can become, again, as I have always been saying, you can write any bigger complex for loop nested as well. Nobody is going to stop you, but you have to be very clear with the concepts. What variable are you using? How many times it is going to iterate? And what is the required output for me. That should be very, very important for you to keep in the mind and then start coding. Okay. All right, let's go into while loop. Before I go into while loop, I always thought of something that I have to explain you. There is a difference between 1 is equals to sign versus 2 is equals to signs. Okay, what is that? If you are using 1 is equals to symbol, you are assigning some value into another variable. But if you are using double is equals to symbol, you are comparing. So if you say a is equals to 0, you are assigning a variable value as 0. You see that here? But if you are saying 1 double equal to 0, it is saying false. 1 is not equals to 0. You are comparing if 1 is equals to 0 or not. Now if you say 0 double equals to 0, yes, you are comparing these two things. That's the reason you see true. Okay. So in the last session, I did not use is equals to in the if conditions or LA for anywhere. I have been only using greater than symbol or less than symbol. But I thought there is small difference in the is equals to, that is equal symbol. So in the equal symbol, if you use 1 equal, that means you are assigning a value to a variable. But if you want to compare on the left hand side, on the right hand side, it is double equals to. Okay. Now let's write a while loop. Basically, while loop is a infinite loop if you want to run it. You can also create a while loop with infinite loop. But for loop, it's a fixed loop. You have to say what should be the number of iterations you have to run inside a for loop. But in a while loop, it can be unlimited. It can be unbreakable iterations also. You have to carefully program while loop. Okay, else it will keep running inside your shell. Okay, now let me tell you, see how did I code it? While, the syntax, let me write it here. While, 1 is greater than 0, it's always true, right? Now, okay, let me not write it like this. While, let me say a equal to 2. While a is greater than 2, 0, this is true, right? Print, you are inside the loop. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. You are inside the loop. Okay. So let me again take input from the user. Okay. What's the new a value? Okay. Now let me take the input. Cool. Now I would run this. Because the first time a is equals to 2, first time 2 is greater than 0, my while loop has been initiated. And the first statement inside the while loop is print. So the print has been successfully occurred. Now again replacing the a value with the input from the user. Now I would say here 3. What happens? The a value becomes 3. But still, I'm sorry here. I have to convert into an integer after doing this. So it broke. So let me again execute. So again, I'm saying 3. Now what happened? It again went into the same loop. Because now 3 is again still greater than 0. Right? Now again someone says 4. Still 4 is greater than 0. Again it is in the same loop. Okay. Now for example I say 0. Now what happened? It broke the loop. Because at this point of time the value of a became 0. 0 is not greater than 0. Hence the while loop has broke. I can write a directly while loop like this instead of this. See, I would say instead of using a etc., I would directly use the same thing, right, here inside this, and then I execute this piece. Let's see what happens. See, what is the input value? 2. It is still inside the loop. And again it is asking. The next time I'm saying 3, it is the same thing. Next time I'm saying 4, it is the same thing. 5, it is the same thing. 6, it is the same thing. Never it is less than 0 or equals to 0, right? Now if I say 0 or -1, it breaks the loop. So while loop is basically when you wanted to run the same thing as for loop in an iteration one after the other, but you don't know how many iterations you want to make. Those number of iterations are basically dependent on any other variable value or any other output of any other command. If you are in such a loop, while loop is the best fit for you. Okay. Similarly, you can also write at this point of time, I would like to introduce sleep command. So sleep function is basically inside the package called time. So if I say from time import sleep, it basically imports the sleep command into this. What does sleep does? It basically halts the program for a given programmed number of seconds. So I'll explain this piece for you. Okay. So I think you all know what is this function now, right? I'm importing datetime function from datetime package. And if I say now, it will execute, it will give you what is the current time, right? Along with the date. Now what I'm saying is after printing the current time, you basically wait for 3 seconds. Sleep for 3 seconds. Before you come to the next line of code, sleep for 3 seconds. After sleeping for 3 seconds, execute line number 61. That is the purpose of sleep. Okay. So this is again important in a programming world because we will not know at some situations you will have to halt your program for a second to wait for some response. Okay. So if that is the case, how do you halt your program? Sleep is your savior. Let's execute this and see what happens. Again, it is the same thing. I'm taking an input here first. Okay. So I would say 1 because 1 is greater than 0. What happened? It has printed the first one and the second one has printed after 3 seconds. So if you see the difference between this 44 seconds to 47 seconds, exactly it has halted for 3 seconds. Okay. Again, I am saying 2. 2 is again greater than 0 as I programmed in my while loop. You see it here again. First time it has printed date time. Now again, after 3 seconds, it is printing your second one. See, 6 seconds to 9 seconds. So sleep is the one that will basically help you to hold the program after executing line number 59. After executing line number 59, as soon as it picks up this command, the program will wait for 3 seconds and then it will start moving to the next steps. That is the value of sleep as a function. Okay, by default, remember this is all in seconds. So if you want to wait for 1 minute, you have to say 60 seconds. Okay, now I would like to club whatever you have learned, for loop, while loop, if conditions. With all of this, I can write one code, right? So let me say this. When a is equals to 0, while a is equals to 0, get into a for loop and run this for loop for 5 times. Print the value of I. It is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And whenever you see a 4 value of I, just say you are breaking it now. How does the while loop breaks? You have to make a equal to 1. As soon as you make a equal to 1, the while loop breaks because 1 is not equals to 0. Okay, in this, what am I doing? In a while loop, I'm using a for loop. Inside a for loop, I'm using a if condition. Okay, so let me execute this. You see what happens? What is it? Okay. I think for the input value I gave a is equals to 0. That was the error. You can ignore it. I'm trying to again run this. See? So what happened? Because a equal to 0 initially, it went into the while loop because this condition is true. And it executed line number 65. And I have programmed in such a way that it has to iterate 5 times. So it starts with 0. Print 0 has been successful. 2 is successful. 3 is successful. 4 is successful. And as soon as I value became 4, I said print break now and then make the value of a is 1. If I don't make the value of a 1, believe me, this is going to run in an infinite loop. You will not believe, your system will keep running this set of programs. It will keep printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 on your screen for the lifetime. That's the reason while loop, though it is used for conditions where you don't know how many times you have to run a loop, it is also very important to make a note that it should not run in an infinite loop. So you have to properly program it in such a way that it exits at certain condition. Okay, you have to decide what should be that condition. It's up to you. All right. Okay, so this is all that I have got for me to introduce you the for loop and the while loop, and you also know what is range and you also know what is sleep. Okay, range is by default available inside your Python kernel. You no need to import any package for that. But for sleep, it is part of time package. So from time, if you say import sleep, this particular command will be successful. And you need not install time. It is there in your system by default after you install Python 3. Okay, so that is it with respect to what I have in the topics. As coming back to the conditions and loops, we have covered if else, for loop, while loop, and this one, nested loops, how to write at each case, right? We have seen nested loops for if, nested loops for nested loops for while. I think while I did not write on nested loops, probably you can try it out. You can definitely do it. Okay, very similar to how we have learned in other loops. And we have also seen sleep and range. That's what I had for this topic, for this chapter. And I think, yes, I have covered all of them, just at least for the introduction session, so that, once you get your hands on this again, it will be useful when you want to do or solve a real world problem. Okay, on this context, I think I'm open for taking up questions at this point, if you guys have any. Yes, no. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right, then it seems that you guys have no questions. As always, please start your practice and get ready for the next chapter. And as we progress with the chapters from now, you will see much more complexities in the code that you're learning day after day. And by the end of the session, probably you will be very comfortable in actually speaking to any Python programmer about Python. And I would like you to become a programmer as well in your regular day-to-day life, or if you're a fresher, I would always encourage to see Python as one of the important languages for your career. Okay, all right, thank you. See you in the next session. Bye bye.